This is very exciting because, oral SERD made that headway already in our field as single agents. And all of us were really wanting combination. We like combination in the US. So we're waiting for those combinations. So the first combination that we got earlier this year or late last year was the EMBER-3 when we looked at abemaciclib plus imlunestrant. And that was very encouraging. That was what we were expecting from the post-Monarch.
Right.
That was a better post-Monarch. You see something by continuing the CDK4/6 inhibitor, so using sequential CDK4/6 inhibitor in the second line, by changing the endocrine therapy backbone, you saw somewhere around between 9 to 11 months, depending whether or not you have an ESR1 mutation. Now, the exciting part is that the first drug that we used in that setting, the elacestrant, we had an update at San Antonio for the ELEVATE study. So we had an update with the two different combinations. The first one with another CDK4/6 inhibitor, abemaciclib, which shows, before I saw the data, I was guessing myself. I was like, okay, I want to put, what do I expect it to be? And I put between 9 to 10 months. No, it was an astonishing 14 months plus median PFS of using CDK4/6 inhibitor in the second line plus, which is something fascinating. 14 months, Paolo. What do you think about that number?
I think that's usually, what we start to see with cytotoxic treatments, ADCs, and in truth, we can get that also in the second line when you hit the right targets, when you use the right drugs. And I think it's relevant because we know that in the first line, endocrine therapy, CDK4/6 inhibitors work very well, sometimes for years. But it's really that second line window that has been challenging.
Yeah.
In the past, only 5 years ago, we used to use a lot of Fulvestrant, some everolimus, but in truth, it's never been active enough. What we had in the second line, this is changing. This is changing. And you mentioned already the imlunestrant abema data, the ELEVATE data with elacestrant. I was also impressed by giredestrant everolimus, the AVERA trial that showed a doubling in PFS with adding giredestrant from 5 to 10 months. Very nice response rate. Most of the activity in patients with ESR1 mutations, but a hint of activity also in ESR1 wild type. And so let me ask you another hard question. Only hard questions for you today. Jason, brace yourself.
I love those questions.
So right now, would you consider oral SERDs, the approved ones or the coming ones, only for patients with ESR1 mutant metastatic disease or for the broader population?
That's a very good question because another arm on the ELEVATE that was presented at this meeting was the elacestrant everolimus, which mimic the population on the AVERA study that you just mentioned with the giredestrant everolimus. What's interesting in the ELEVATE study when they looked at the everolimus addition to elacestrant is that irrespective of an ESR1 mutation or a PIK3CA mutation, you saw a sustained activity and sustained median PFS around 8 months. Now, that we didn't see on the AVERA. On the AVERA, it seemed like the activity is only for the patient with the ESR1 mutation. However, if you look at the patient with the ESR1 wild type, although there seemed not to be much benefit, the overall response rate was better. This is still puzzling. We need more data to do that. But what's exciting is that irrespective of ESR1 mutation, at least on the ELEVATE, you see that the combination is effective. That's super exciting. And that's why here we are, this podcast, we're going to be answering the hard questions. This is something interesting to see, and this is what we expect to see. The idea of doing combos is that hopefully they should work irrespective of a mutation. And that's exciting to see that we see that on both arms of the AVERA, both arms of the ELEVATE that were presented. The other thing, I'm going to jump back 1 second for the abemaciclib arm. A big proportion of those patients receive prior fulvestrant. Yet, despite the prior fulvestrant, you still see a median PFS of 14 months. This is exciting.
This is exciting and important because we're starting to have several oral SERDs. And so the next big question will be, can we sequence oral SERDs? And I think most likely we will.
Yep.
And we'll figure out with real world data and with our experience how to do that in the best way. But I do think it's an exciting time in ER-positive disease.
It is exciting time.